Hey everyone, thank you all for tuning back in. This is Trade with Ellie, and today we're doing all things A to Z. We're doing A to Z travel, and we are up to letter H, right? It's been a minute, but like I said, with travel being back on the forefront, I'm so excited to bring more travel to you, to bring more fun to the channel, and to bring more stories and experience sharing. So with that being said, we are at H, right? H is going to be for Havana, Cuba, right? So Cuba, right? A couple of years ago, we couldn't go to Cuba straight from the US. And when they opened up those doors, I had an amazing opportunity to go with a group of some amazing ladies, right? And we did a nice group trip for New Year's, right? We went for New Year's, and it was very interesting to say the least. It was a really interesting trip. And Cuba was different. Cuba was very different from a lot of other countries. So being part of the first group to go, I feel like we were really learning and figuring out what it was gonna be like now that the country was opened up to the US. So when you go, there were a lot of European travelers, but that's not uncommon for them. The fact of them having more American travelers was a little bit different and new. And so as time went on, like pretty much each month, you were able to kind of see like the shift and the change in how things were going in terms of accommodation, in terms of prices and things like that, which was really interesting. So I knew a few people who went before I did, so I got to get a little bit of insight. So by the time I went and then some other people went, such a drastic difference in prices were skyrocketing. So if I remember correctly, when I went, accommodations seemed to be pretty expensive. So we stayed with a host, someone who lives there, right? So when you're staying with like a host family, basically what's happening is it's like I'm contacting someone who lives there and wants to open up their home to myself and whatever, and you're pretty much paying them to stay in their home. So it's a little bit cheaper than staying at a hotel. The hotels were ridiculously expensive. So I did not contact the host. A friend of mine did, and she stayed at a pretty good location. It was like a short distance from like the main square and stuff like that. So location wise, it was really great. And then we were kind of in the neighborhood, so we were by like other cool spots. Don't even remember the neighborhood name and stuff like that, but that's neither here nor there. We were still right there, like right where that strip you walk down. We were just like a few blocks over, like maybe a 5-minute walk. So for those of you who know what I'm talking about, then you understand. If you don't, my apologies. Okay, all things Havana. So I'm just gonna highlight a few things that I liked and I did not like about my trip. So my favorite part of that whole entire trip was actually not being in Havana. So now it could have been because I was there during New Year's. What we didn't really know was that everyone is like not really out. It's like they hibernate right during New Year's. So they weren't really around. There was people, but not a lot. And I'm saying this because we would go out, we'd go to restaurants, and no one really like spoke to us. Like a few people did, but it was really just like, it felt empty, right? The city felt a little bit empty. Like there were people there, but after New Year's, like let's say starting like January 3rd, so many people were out and people were talking to us, being very friendly, and it was like a whole 180. We were like, what's going on here? Where are these people coming from? And the more we spoke to people, they said that for New Year's, a lot of people weren't really around or weren't out and stuff like that for various different reasons, for celebrating and stuff. So it made sense. So we're like, oh, that would have been kind of good to know, because in that sense we probably wouldn't have went with intentions to be there for New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, and so on and so forth. We would have, either came beforehand or we just would have came after, because it kind of took from the experience, because the city wasn't how it normally was. but being able to be there days after, we did get to kind of experience it, and it made it seem nicer, and we kind of missed out, but at the same time, we did get to enjoy certain aspects without it being fully crowded. So that kind of was nice. So my thing about, so that's kind of why that, but I did like Isla Verde. Is that where we went? No, that's Puerto Rico. Wow. Where did we go? Cuba. No, that's Brazil. Vinales. Okay. Wow, I was going through a bunch of different cities in my head. So I did get a chance to go to Vinales, which is basically like a countryside. It's so beautiful. So just so quiet and just pretty. The food there was so much better. So one thing, right, at that time, I'm not really sure what it's like now, but Cuba has like a huge food scarcity kind of thing. And a lot of the food is rationed out, but they also just had a lack of not resources, what's the proper word? There's just like a food shortage or lack, right? And they also distribute the food much different from what we're used to in the States. So with that being said, a lot of the restaurants we went to in Havana, right, some of them were like big main restaurants, whatever. You go and a lot of the options on the menu is kind of like not there. They would have select. Now that's nothing different or new that I've experienced, because a lot of countries that I've gone to in different places, you can go to the restaurant and you pretty much have to ask, what do you have back there? So it kind of was that same concept. But one thing was like, if the food, it's like they didn't have seasoning. I don't know if there was a shortage in seasoning. I don't know if they just don't season the food. Maybe they're used to catering to their people, and their people that eat there or frequent there don't like salt. I really don't know. These are just thoughts. You can agree to disagree, but there, a lot of the restaurants, their food just was not seasoned, and that was so frustrating because it just wasn't good. Now, there was a restaurant that was like the opposite way from where a lot of the tourists stay, and it was like a block or two from where we were staying, and the food one was way cheaper there, super cheap. On the other side, it was a lot more and just not good. This one spot, we went there a number of times. It was so cheap, and they had great portions, and it was delicious, right? And so that's why I also liked Vinales more. Vinales, the food there was so good. When we got there, we went to some place to eat, and we had like a long picnic table. I mean, like maybe 2 picnic tables, and it was filled with food. It was so much, we could barely even pack it up to take it back. And everybody like could have packed up 2 plates, and there was still food on the table. It was almost like an all you can eat, even though it wasn't, but that's how it felt. And the food was just full of flavor, and it was just so good, and it just was amazing. It was amazing. We did do horseback riding in Vinales, and that was fun. And so so that feeling of when you kind of rate the places that you go, and you're like food, view, experience, people, that was there in Vinales. So in Havana though, we got to, do the old fashioned cars and drive around and stuff. And that was kind of cool, but I don't know. I think like the idea of that where, you get excited and it's like, oh my God, I feel like that's the main thing a lot of people think about first when you think about Cuba. And it's like, oh, we got to do that. And it was fun, but I don't know. It wasn't exciting. I feel like I was more excited of the hype than like the experience didn't meet its fulfillment. What's the right phrase? Like there was so much hype and going, and like all the old cars and this and that, everything was outdated. But and it's just kind of like time traveling to the past. But then you went and it just was like, the whole experience fell short. And I'm not saying the whole thing was bad. It wasn't. It was good. It's just that I've been to other places that I felt more enjoyable and more fun. And so it kind of brought the trip down to a scale, because I also felt like it was going to be here and then it was like here. I wish I would have spent more time in Vinales though, because I feel like it would have heightened it up. But it, like I said, it could be the fact that there wasn't a lot of people. Now, the cool thing, which I did like, was they did have a lot of open markets and like, and stuff like that. And so if you know me, I'm going to the market when I travel. Going to the market is a must. And the fact that a lot of their stuff is much older, dating back to, oh my God, just years. I think that was really cool because you were able to get trinkets and stuff. My sister had gotten this amazing necklace, and I was so mad that she got to it first because it was the only one. But a lot of it's unique, and I think some of them actually belong to people that maybe it got lost or confiscated or whatever the case is, and they're reselling it. So you have a lot of things that look like they have personal value or just so much history in it. And I thought that's really cool because that's not something you can recreate, and that's not something you can really find in many places. So I really, really love that. And let's see, one more thing that I did really, really like. Oh my God. So this, I didn't like this, but I thought this is a great experience worth sharing. So for New Year's, you know, we were all celebrating in the house. We actually wanted to go out, but it got like crazy and like a little dangerous. Like people were throwing bricks outside the window, like bricks, like throwing it like the whole neighborhood. So we're like, I guess maybe we're in the hood. I really don't know. But that was that moment of, we might be in the hood, guys. And so, so like people were throwing bricks and stuff, and it was really scary because we were just like, we did not come out all the way here to like get hit with a brick and like end up in the hospital or not make it back to the States. Like that's crazy. So a lot of us were like, you know what, we're just gonna stay and we're gonna have a fun time and just, you know, welcome the new year in the house. So we did some of the traditions, you know, like throwing the bucket of water like out the balcony or window, and then we were gonna do the one where you take the suitcase and you run around the block. So that's supposed to, if I'm not mistaken, represent or to bring into the new year a lot of travel and stuff like that for the suitcase. So some of us were like, I don't think we're gonna do it, but we went down to watch the host and one of the girls that was with us, the ladies that was with us. So we go down, and we were actually gonna go, like we didn't want to take our suitcase, whatever, but we went down with them like, no, we'll go, we'll record and, you know, whatever. So we all step out, and the minute we step out the door, like there's just bricks flying, like cement blocks just like flying from like just balconies and windows, and you kind of can't even tell where it's coming from. So it's so scary because they're just like breaking and smashing in front of you. So we're just like, maybe we won't. So we like lined up to like, okay, we're gonna make a run for it. But the minute we like started running, it's like it's raining, just a whole bunch of stuff. It's not raining, but like people are just throwing things. So we opted out. And the two of them actually did go and make it. And we're like, oh my God, be safe. And they said it was really scary and dangerous, like on the block behind us. So I was like, wow. So that would have been a nice, fun tradition to do. But due to the circumstances, I'm glad that they were able to make it back safe. And we just had fun in the front, you know, dancing and just waiting for them to return and just, you know, hopefully see that they were okay. But that was really fun. Dangerous but fun. But it did seem like people who did go out did have a good time. I did know a few people who did end up going out. Either they stayed in different places or whatever the case was. And so once they left like the perimeter or like the area we were in, and they kind of got into that square area, everything was good. And so they ended up having a ball. So I'm sad I missed out on that, but I did have a good time and experience being in and just, you know, bringing in the new year a little different and still being able to partake in some of the traditions that they do out there. So that was really fun. So if you're going to Cuba and you're debating like, you know, should I do a host or a hotel? Being with a host has its perks. You know, we did get to have like nice homemade breakfast and coffee. I mean, you can go to a restaurant and still get it, but you do get to like have more conversations with the host and like really learn about what things were like, their experiences, especially during the revolution and stuff like that, and just what they went through. And so those are the moments or things that you're not going to get from staying at a hotel or just staying at a regular Airbnb. So I don't know what it's like now, but if you have an opportunity to stay with the host, definitely check them out. Get recommendations from other people and pick someone who's been getting really good reviews and things like that. So, and you can set pretty much everything up with them, or still, you know, go on your own and do certain things. So we did do some tours with her, which is great. We did a tour with her for the cars. We did one to go see Hemingway's, you know, room and stuff where he stayed. So that was really dope. So there was a lot of great things. Cuba has so much history, and just, it is a beautiful place. So don't get me wrong. If you get a chance to go, definitely go. You know, I'm here for going everywhere, learning about new things, experiencing new places, and trying new things. So definitely was a good trip. Now, it wasn't my top 5, but it definitely was fun and worth going. If I ever go back, I would definitely want to do more of the other cities that are more so on the countryside. I did hear about some other places that were beautiful and just really fun and different. And I think, if anything, that's more so my vibe. So I'm excited to one day do some of those places, and of course go back to Vinales. And I probably would just do Havana for a few days just for the sake of it'd probably be my rest stop. But that is all. That is H for travel, A to Z travels. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and check out my next video.